Right, what is up? Back on another episode of the Newstrength Way podcast. Nath and I are again in the gym today. We'll be back in the studio from next week, but we've just got a quick one. So we just celebrated our 8-year birthday, which was really exciting. We had a great day. LSKD came out. We had a bunch of other partners. Papa's Bagels, as always, is always fueling us up on those big days. And we had a great morning with the crew. Hung around.
We did.
Got to spent a bit of time with our members, and then just as a team, we had a big workouts, and then just got to enjoy a bit of the day together. So we want to go through today 8 lessons from 8 years. So Nathan and I are going to share 4 each, and we're going to dial these down to personal lesson that we've learned over the years, something through the business journey, a training lesson that we've had, or like training nutrition maybe there we can be open to, and then something that you change your mind on in that time since we started. So I thought this would be a cool little one to just sort of flesh out a bit of the journey over the years. And Nath, welcome to the chat.
Thanks for having me, Jake, once again. I'm very excited to be here, very pumped. I'm not gonna lie, I feel a little bit nervous, like I said to you before, on my lack of preparation for these questions.
Yeah.
But we'll see what comes up. We'll just let it flow and be organic. None of this is prepped, so
If you guys listening at home, at work, in the car, I gave Nath these about 5 minutes ago. So
yeah, 5 minutes ago, as Jacob has sick kids at home, Lenny had his orientation, and then I didn't have time to get him back to daycare, then go back to pick up this afternoon. So Len's here kicking it, watching some Pokemon on the new.
he might get his
TV.
debut.
He might. He might. It's
Then
very
he might
possible.
make his way onto the pod. Right, let's kick it off. So first up, Nathan, I'm going to leave it with you on your personal lesson that you've had. I'm going to leave that pretty broad and pretty open to you, to whatever you want to take it to, but something you've learned over the last 8 years.
I think perfect actually segue. I think a big personal lesson is you like the like when then fallacy. I think it was a big one for me, Hods, where like when things calm down, then I'll train consistently, or when this happens, then this will happen. I think a big personal lesson for me, and I think today's a perfect example, and Len asking some curious questions around why the car park's so full but there isn't heaps of people in the gym. I think that was a big lesson for me, and it was like my circumstance probably isn't going to change drastically to the point where these things I want to achieve are going to be easy. So it was more so me as an individual. It was like looking internally. It's like, how can I level up to make sure that I can bring the version to life that I need to for this? And to simplify it, it's like getting away from that if then fallacy. Like if this situation occurred, then I'd be able to achieve X. You need to switch it around. And if I was talking to my younger self, it would be don't do the if then, it's more so how. Or what needs to be true for it to happen, and then move towards that.
I got 2 things that I feel like I've heard you talk about on this that kind of mine from there. Is like the first piece is the what needs to be true to be able to make it happen, and then the second piece is what gets scheduled, not squeezed. I think is something that you're really, really great at, of then going, okay, well, I'm going to just train at 4 a.m. because there's compliments.
The Jacob compliment. Everyone listening, they don't happen very often. That's why we had to.
You get one a year. You have to earn anything else on top of that.
Decade, 2 a decade. What's that? One every half a decade.
So yeah, I think you're very good at nailing into that. Going, well, the option is I'm either gonna have to squeeze my training somewhere, or I'll just schedule it at a time that can make it happen. And obviously, 4 a.m. is that time for you most of the time. And I think
yes, it is.
A lot of people listening in the car are like, holy shit, there's no way I'd be training at 4. But I think you'd be the first person to say this. If you had the option and you had a complete freedom on it, you probably wouldn't be doing that.
No way. No way. I think that's funny. I think that's important to touch on. Everyone's like, oh, I'd never do that. And it's like, I wouldn't, like, I don't actively choose to do it because it's the best time, like, for training, or I feel the best, or it's this fun thing. It's just, like you said, it's where it can be scheduled and not squeezed, and it's the least interrupted. And then what happens is I actually get to train. And what it does, the power of it, Hods, is it puts it back into my control, into my hands, where it's like the outcome of this training session is up to me and what I do and how I show up. And it isn't a meeting running over time or a call coming through like just before. It's not those things, and they don't happen at that time. So it's more of a protected hour for me that I can do
for sure.
what I need to do. Just cool.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. My personal lesson, and it's probably one we got pretty early. I think we got handed this from Drew, our old business coach, was how you do anything is how you do everything was
Mm,
the statement. I think that's always held true of like for me, the times where things have been going successfully is like I'm generally on the ball with everything. It's like how I show up on like when I'm training consistently, then my energy's better at home, then my nutrition's better because of that. Then I'm better when I show up here at work. All of those things feed off the back end of that. So it's then finding, and another word that like another one that we used to use all the time was the keystone habits or the key log habits of like
yeah.
what's the thing there
You
that
want
the
to know
thing.
something interesting? Just to touch on that. This is a compliment coming your way. This morning was training. Obviously, it was the partner, you go, I go, and I didn't have a partner. And I was like, oh, that'll do. Like, it won't matter if I do another set or not. That'll do me. It all comes out in the wash kind of thing. And then actually thought of you saying that statement. It was like, how you do anything, it's how you do everything. And then I didn't skip the last set.
There you
How
go.
weird's that for timing? That was genuinely hand on heart. That happened this morning. So there you go.
Hey, I do remember when we used to do You Go I Go's when we first started venturing into cardio and not just powerlifting. That
Yeah.
I remember I always used to be like, "Oh yeah, we're doing three." I'd always go first as well. So this, if you guys get stuck with me in a training session like this at some point, you'll know that this is the game plan that's coming. I used to try to just break Nath, and it was always fun. But like, man's fit as hell now, so it worked.
Diamonds,
I
Jacob.
think back then it was like I was probably fitter from I think I was still playing footy. You were mostly just surfing at that time, surfing, bodyboarding, fishing and we'd go through. I'd do my set, Nathan do his set. I'd do my set, Nathan do his set, and then we finish that third one. And like, we're doing three, and I'd walk straight on over. Nathan normally be laying on the ground at the end of that one there, and phone calls. This is the scheduled, not squeezed, right here. But Nathan'd be laying on the ground after he finished his last set, and he'd just watch me walk straight back over to the side of the circuit, and I'd just go again. And then he's like, "No, we're not doing it again." I was like, "Yep, I'm already going." So I'd do one more, and then, of course, he'd get back up and he'd go again, and then we'd finish that one, and I'd go one more, and every time it was three, we'd always do five.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was just the standard of going, all right, cool, we're just nudging it forward a little bit further each time, and that was the aim of what we're trying to do in that one there, and I think that was part of this same sort of concept of like how you do anything is how you do everything. All right, we're back. We've been jumped in with deliveries and all
Phone calls,
phone
text
calls,
message,
everything's
email.
happening.
Len.
Lenny, he's on. So to wrap that one up there is I think it's just one of those consistent things that, and you can see it when you let it go. All right, so to wrap that one up, I think like for me, the thing is always going, what's the one thing that you can do that you know that you have control over as the first piece there,
Mm-hmm.
that then improves everything else that you do there.
Yeah.
And you'll see this on the flip side there of the people who don't treat it like this, and it generally means that what they're honing in on isn't the thing that has the impact for everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'm crushing it in my career, but I'm letting my health slip.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong thing of where the focus goes. That's going to make everything else better. And there's a time where you can push it too far as well. Like you can, if you're doing something in detriment of spending time on the other stuff, it doesn't help you. But I think
I think it's in to touch on that, Jake. It's in seasons. Like I
Mm.
think if you understand that, and then it puts like a limit on it. Like there'll be a family season, like now Lenny's here, or like young kids, and then you have like work seasons where things have to push, and you'll have other seasons in your life.
every fit out ever is just like a hectic 2 weeks to a month of just fitting out the gym, but it's
Our
always
original fit out.
exciting. And it's always one of those things that off the back end of that, it always like you feel like some momentum's in it there. And I think that's a really important thing there is like knowing, as you said, the season's there and then how you can just trickle and counterbalance the other pieces alongside that. Because you're not going to
Yeah.
do a all out on one thing and then try to be training for an Ironman or like 7 days a week or so. You're going to go, all right, well, what's the minimum effective dose that's going to help me show up for everything else
Yeah.
there, so I don't let my health slip and pull myself back down because I'm trying to focus on work for this next phase here.
Yeah.
So business lesson, Nath. What's the biggest lesson that you feel like you've learned in running a business for 8 years? What's the stats at this point? I think it's like less than 5% are still alive, in essence. So
Yeah. The stats are grim on businesses in general, small businesses, but even more so for hospo number 1 failed, and then gyms number 2 statistically, I believe. Like there's so many, like to break it down into the one, I think it would come back to what I mentioned at our birthday recently. It's not so much what you do, it's why you do it and who you do it with. And that really will create the success, not only the success from like that external viewpoint, the success also that you feel internally. Like this journey has purpose, it has momentum, it has meaning. And I think that's something that you and I have been, I don't want to say lucky because we've both worked our asses off all the time, but I think it's there for us organically where it's always been about meaning and purpose and vision and mission. And that's driven this thing the whole time, like the entire time. And I think that allows us to be almost a decade in and still feel fired up about it. And you and I still have a really strong relationship. And I think that's what is the key component to the success of it all. It's like we have shared values, mission and driven, the mission, the vision, everything's clear and everything is action from that. And then I think as I've grown and matured in this venture and have
Sit with the sun.
run around, I think that's the most important thing. But yeah, no, it's not so much the what, it's the why you do it and the who you do it with, and then that makes a successful business internally and externally, where you can be from the outside looking in and it looks like you have a passionate team, you have engaged members, and you have something that has substance. And then when you look at the people in there, it's like it's not empty. Like I still care about the outcomes of the business, and it isn't just a spreadsheet with numbers. It's actually people's lives that are being changed. And like we talk about, it's not the success isn't measured in the reps. It's measured in the ripples, and those ripples that go out is what actually is the impact we want.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. Like my one is that each level has a different devil in there. Like
Yeah.
I think as you get along through business, and I think it's, to be honest, this carries through to life and training and all of the things as well. But it's probably the one where it was the most uh, glaring for me to see. Is like making your way in. Is like when we first started, I was like, all right, if we just do a great job, then we'll be sweet. And then as you get along, and like we'd had some, like we had tremendous growth in the first year. Like it was 8 years and 5 days it took us to get to our first 100 members, and that was in our semi-private model. Yeah, 8 months. Yeah, 8 months and 5 days.
It didn't take us 8 years to do
Didn't
that. Just
didn't do that.
that would have
right.
been a long 8 years.
Cut that back. We had so we went through that initial phase. We got up to there, and that was still just me and you.
Yeah.
And every now and then, if we were both out of action for a weekend, there was like we had a friend that could come in and sub in for a class here and there. I think Jess came and subbed for a few classes here and there when she was not meant to be working.
When we shut and then we lost people, we're like, oh, we need a break. Like we've gone so hard, but it's going to shut for a week. Or I think it might have been 8 days. Lesson learnt there. I was like, never shut completely.
Yeah. So it's like those there, and like we just sort of honed in and was like, all right, cool. We just need to be really good at training people. And then we brought in staff. And when we brought in staff, what we probably didn't realize is we need to be really good at then developing the team and growing them. And it probably just took us longer till we started to make the progress of like where everyone's like, oh yeah, cool. You just get somebody else to come in and work for you. And then you just elevate up the ladder. And like we just essentially didn't actually do a lot of development. We just expected that a lot of that would happen from being around the environment. And the realities are that doesn't work like that all the time. There is people who it will be, and they just will go gung-ho, but it's not always the case. And I think we just expected that's how we got around stuff. It's like, all right, cool. I love doing this stuff. I'm just going to hone in and just hammer out everything. I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to go and apply it. I'm going to keep on trying to get myself better and building that skill gap. And then you go on to the next level, and then it's like it's a different skill. Like to go through there, it's not just okay, cool, let's get the staff doing it there. It's like, well, what skill do we have to be good at now? And then like that's now our adventure where we're at now. Like we're doing this stuff. I know we had podcasts beforehand, and then we're trying to hone in on like how do we get better as marketing, but not just trying to get people through the doors from marketing. Is like how do we get better at sharing our story and share the stories of the clients that we have, and doing it in a way that is congruent and aligned with what we value and who we are. And I think that's
I think it's like creating meaning in the messaging is really good. Like when like you can use the term marketing for sure, but really it's like how do we get our messaging across there, and our messaging has deep meaning, and that's what we're trying to do and get better at.
And then you get better at those things, and it's like, all right, well then you have more layers where it's like, okay, cool, we need to be able to teach those things over to the next people. We need to actually be able to manage our finance as well, and all these things that like are a new gap that like how do you balance out each thing along the way. And I think it's the same as when you get started training. It's like you can nearly get strong or lose weight or whatever it is just by starting. And then you get so far along there and it's like, oh, my squat's been stuck at 150 for 6 months now. What's going on? And then it's like, well, you need a different thing to get past that. It's like you might need to find where's your weak point and then develop that specifically with some, whether that's supplementary movements, whether
Mm.
that's the actual volume, like are you doing enough, like, and there's going to be a different gap on that in each phase. And I think business has just been a really great way of highlighting that, and
Yeah.
then helping us understand, or for me at least, is that okay, cool, if we're not where we want to be, or we've got something that we're moving towards, there's a skill gap there, and often you don't quite know what the gap is.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of try, iterate, learn, get better. And then as you go along, you start to figure out, you're like, oh, that's my gap there. That's my opportunity. Here's where I'm going to hone in on and really work on to then help us get to that next level. And then you
Yeah.
build that up, but then there's another thing. And
Yeah,
then
always.
it's like, it's a new, like we were just talking about Lenny's into Pokemon at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like you get to the first one's the rock,
Hmm.
like the rock gym. And to beat the rock gym, if you've got Squirtle, you just win.
Yeah.
But if you then, but then you go from there into the next one, and the next one's the water gym, and it's like Squirtle doesn't do too much against the water gym because
Yeah.
he's a water type. And we won't go too deep in Pokemon, but that was definitely my first training job.
Yeah.
Was 8 hours a day on Pokemon. I probably would go from like this position on the lounge, laying upside down on the lounge, and so on. It's
Yeah, I think what you're saying there really stands out to me, Jake, is the what got you here won't get you there,
yeah, yeah,
which is a big one. And I think that's very, very true in a lot of things, but especially business. And you think you'll get to this next point with this, like you said, bridging that skill gap, and then you get there. And then another thing that comes in is the more you know and the more you learn, the more you realize you just don't know. And then it just opens up more opportunities, more skill gaps. And I think that's where it can feel overwhelming for people at times, where it's like you get exposed to more and more and more and more and more, and you think, oh, there's all these things. But again, it's the prioritizing and being clear on what is this devil at this level that we're addressing, and then apply
mm,
that, bridge the gap, and go from there. I think that's
yeah,
what keeps it engaging and fun too.
yeah. It is 100%. It is the one thing that's like, I think that's been, whether it's been in training as well as in the gym. Is like in training, it's like, all right, cool, I take on this new venture now, and then there's a new thing that I don't know how to get past it.
Yeah.
And that's also like the value of coaching side of stuff, is like how
Mm.
much we probably would not have got through the marathon nearly as unscathed. I know we both hit the wall still, but without the prep that Claire helped us get towards, and
Yeah.
even in simplicity of just knowing how to navigate the build ups along the way and what to do and that sort of stuff there, like I would have been stupid with it if I didn't have her guidance there. And I think that's a really the
100%.
valuable thing about having somebody there that can help take you through it there. And we've obviously pretty much always had a business coach along the
Mhm.
journey. Like if we haven't, it's only been 6 months in between where we haven't had somebody to sort of
Yeah, and I think
soundboard
we've
off it.
always had like 100% odds, and we've always had something there as like a soundboard or a mentor, or at least a consumption of that figure, but it just wasn't in the official.
Mm,
We give you
yeah,
money, you give us value in return.
yeah,
It was always something there.
yeah, 100%. Training lesson. What do you got for me?
I'm gonna throw it back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, swing back around. I think
All
I
right.
got a better one than that.
Yeah.
I think there's more depth in 8 years than just that.
Yeah. I think my biggest one that's reined in is like the value of like having a really strong base.
Mm.
Like I think when we look at the fitness industry overall, and and training, strength and conditioning, like everyone's talking about like the specialization. Like when you don't see somebody writing a program on like and promoting the program on like how to just be generally okay at everything, so that that when you have something that excites you, you can go to that.
Mm.
There, it's like no, here's your marathon plan, here's your powerlifting plan, the weightlifting plan, how to go to the Olympics, like all these things that are very specialist. And obviously that's the idea of like everyone says, I'll go to like niche down and you'll have more, there's more money in niching down and so on. But the biggest thing that I've learned over the time that we've had it there is like my training journey's bounced all over the place. Like since we've started, we did a weightlifting comp together. I did a powerlifting comp just after we opened the gym. I
Yeah,
went
you
from
done
there
a
straight
half
into a half
marathon,
marathon the week later. Then I found strongman, and I honed in on that hard for 5 years or so. Then I've jumped over. I've done a little bit of boxing training. We've just ran a marathon. Like I've done the Spartan races and all that sort of stuff along this journey. But the thing that's been consistent is like my training's always had the base.
Yeah.
Like we've always done what we teach here as the base and the foundation. Like we had a year of, and we're bringing the Oz Tag team back this season, which is exciting. But a couple of years I went and played, and it's only local grade Oz Tag, but you hear so many stories of like fit, strong guys that have been training in the gym that then go and play Oz Tag, go and play touch footy or something in the off season. Just because they've missed that team camaraderie, they miss playing footy. They're like, well, I'll do this. There's less injury risk, and they go and do an ACL in their first couple of games.
Mm.
And then they're off work, they're busted, they can't go and do the things they want to do, and it makes a massive impact on their lives. And I think even though in that time frame, like I was in the gym, I was doing a lot of different things, but I went and played OzTag, and I reckon it was some of the best like footy skills that I reckon that I've actually played with overall, like, back to when I was playing. And I think a big part of that was how we train here.
Mm.
Is that then I was definitely in my best shape at the time doing that, and that was in the thick of strongman. So I wasn't aerobically fit compared to definitely where we are now. Like I
Yeah,
was probably would be able to bury myself into a hole and lay on the ground like that air bike that time.
that's
But
bad.
even in doing that, there I still had the fitness to go and pick up those things, and was able to play reasonable at like a local grade level and have a bit of fun and go out and do those things. And I think that's been a credit to the foundation that we build here with our style of training.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the thing that I love about it most. It's like I can go and just this is the thing that's drawing my attention. This thing that's exciting to me now, and I'm not going to have to go and reinvent the wheel for a year to be able to go and
Mm.
do it. I can then just go and start to trickle my way into it, feel good about it, and then go and jump all in if it's something that I want to do. Like when we decided we were doing a marathon, I ran way more than, like, I was probably lifting in the gym once or twice a week most
Mm.
weeks to get towards there, and I still probably needed to run more, but I pivoted hard towards that, and it got me through.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a world champion in doing so. You're not going to go and hit elite status on things, but having that broad base built because of building a fundamental of movement patterns, training through strength curves, variety of movement planes. We're doing stuff where we are actually like challenging like force velocity curves and all of those things that we're doing the rehab, the full body, the hypertrophy, all of those things there build this base and keeping a conditioning base too,
Mm-hmm.
to where you go, hell yeah, I'm gonna go and play OzTag again. Like this year, it's like I'm excited, and like I know people have said, it's like, aren't you worried that you might do hammy? No, not at all.
Mm.
Like, sure, it might happen. Like, touch wood, it doesn't. But like,
Mm.
we've done the I've done the groundwork enough that it's like where I trust in my body, and I know how to regulate like the volume and intensity. I know where I'm probably going, all right, cool, I need to scale it back a little bit here. And there's obviously always a risk, but having that base built, I'm confident I can go and take on whatever it is. And then some of them are going to take longer to build towards. Other things I'm just going to be able to jump in and just have a crack. And I think that's a credit to the work that we do.
Mm.
Back to your
100%.
training lesson.
Training lesson. I've tweaked. You won't hear the full one. Jacob's going to edit it. I started on one, but I wanted to retract and go through this instead. I think the importance of having like a North Star that you're training towards, like an event or something for that quarter or year or whatever it may be. And obviously we understand that we train to like like it was like the video the other day. It's like we train not just to look better, it's to live better. Like, and we do that. So I think something that I realized through the marathon, us doing High Rocks together this year, Jake, and having those events is it's not so much the event itself, it's the purpose and the shared experience and the enjoyment and the um, experiences that come off the back end of that. I think Mudgie's a really good example of that. So I think for me, it's highlighted. If I look back, it's those moments and those experiences that really make it valuable and something that has depth and substance. So I think having something there, and I don't think it has to be as specific or this dialed in thing, where I think that's where the big lesson is, where for me it was tunnel vision on weightlifting. It would have to be a weightlifting event or
Yeah.
something like that. As I've gotten older, it's like it can be anything, like strong mile, high rocks, the marathon. They were all as enjoyable as each other for different reasons, but it was the shared experience. And
Shared experience and a little bit of a stretch, like where you know that you don't want to show
marathon's
up
easy.
as you are on day one. You don't want to show up on the competition day, the event day, or whatever,
Yeah.
in the same position where you were on day one. And you know, it's like we set the goal as sub 4 hours. Neither of us got there, but the reason why it was sub 4 hours was that's evidence of that we had to try for it.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it was going to be, if we just said, oh yeah, we'll finish a marathon, you can technically walk a marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't going to be like, oh yeah, cool, I could just keep on trekking my way along here. It had to be like, all right, I'm going to have to give it some. It might not happen. It didn't happen for us on this one here.
Could
But
taste it.
then it puts you into that position like, oh, wait, at 30 Ks, I was like, I am home. At 32 Ks, I was like, I am not home. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that, and that's something like I've sort of built in for a long time, like with all of those things. And I think it's just as you said, it creates great experiences with people. Obviously, we had Mudgy with the whole crew. Like the first time that I did High Rocks was with our client Paul,
Yeah.
who's an absolute gun, and he'd done it, and then he booked in and was like, "Oh yeah, cool, are you gonna do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, Nathan and I are gonna do it," and then neither of us booked in, and then I was like, "Oh shit," and I felt terrible about it, and then like I found like a last chance. They opened up extra spots, and I got on. I think it was an hour before they formally opened the thing, but the payment gateway was already open,
Yeah.
so I booked a ticket before the floodgates opened, and we got it done, and we got to enjoy like we got a couple of hours to drive down there together. We did the High Rocks at the same time. It went through afterwards. We went and had lunch together, and it was just a nice experience with somebody who I love having in the gym. But
Mm.
we got to actually spend some extra time and kind of get to learn a little bit more about him than what you get in that hour in a session when you've got a job to be done then and there too.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%, man, 100%.
all right, our last ones to wrap up the episode. What have you changed your mind on?
Ugh. What I've changed my mind on, I'd say the biggest thing, and if I was to go back and say this to younger Nath, he'd be like, I think he'd be shocked, and I'd have that jarring effect. Would be my views on fat loss and that journey. It's like the fat loss doesn't have to be sustainable. Your goal weight has to be.
Mm,
Where I think that's a really big shift for me, where I've seen so much success in short, hard sprints, rather than thinking that myself or a client has to have this big, long change. And what I've realized is some people just get more fired up from having more wins sooner.
mm,
And then that creates the outcome rather than thinking that has to come over time. And then it's not to dilute the importance of having it to be sustainable afterwards, but the journey to get to that point can look different for so many
mm,
people. And we've had success with people in here, like Claire was only talking to me this morning about that and how much easier she finds it just to have shorter, intense periods because you can see an end in mind,
mm.
have a maintenance phase, and then go back. So I was very much hard on the slow, steady, sustainable, which isn't wrong. It doesn't make that wrong, but you can also go short, sharp, and fast with it, and then just you need a plan after that.
Mm.
And I've definitely flipped it on there because no one wants to be losing weight forever. Like, let's
Yeah,
just be honest with each other. Like,
yeah.
who wants to
Even
lose?
though most people are trying forever,
Yeah,
like they don't
exactly.
want to
It's like
be.
no one wants to be trying to lose weight forever. So why don't we just have a condense, do a sprint, actually get some results, create some belief, and then doing that, we can see it's like, okay, cool, this thing works. I understand this process works. Do I have to be in this much of a deficit all the time? No, you don't, because fat loss shouldn't be sustainable. It's the goal weight should be.
Mm,
The fat loss itself, if that's sustainable, then you'll just end up into a shadow of yourself, which
mm,
we don't want. So I think that's the biggest thing I've almost backflipped on. Where if you took me, let's say 8 years ago, I probably would argue the point of sustainability and those things, but I think it was just too zoomed in on the sustainability not being after the fact, if that makes
mm.
sense. Yeah, that's it. That's the biggest one for me. It would be that fat loss itself doesn't have to be sustainable or losing weight because no one's trying to lose weight forever. It's meant to have a start and an end point where you can just get back to just
Mm.
doing the things you do instead of it being this forever long-term thing. So I think short, sharp sprints for some people works better because it can create belief, it can create momentum, and then it feels like it's a tool in their toolkit. It's not that this weight loss journey has to be this long thing that goes on for years and years and years.
Mm.
And I think that's really cool. And if I could go back and speak to younger Nath, I would say there's multiple ways to get to this end outcome and explore them. Don't be so rigid in thinking there's just one way because it sounds good.
Yeah, 100%. I think mine nearly tacks off that as like just in general, like I've probably flipped on challenges or like going hard from the start in general. Like I think one of the big powerful things is like dropping in the habits quickly, and it's really, really hard when you've got somebody who maybe hasn't trained for a while, and yeah, obviously their body probably can't handle jumping straight into 5 days a week.
Yep.
But then it's like telling them it's like, oh yeah, cool, let's just do one session this week, and then we'll do one the next week, and then we'll do two, then we'll do two, and it's like it's 6 weeks before they actually start to feel like they're actually doing it.
Mm.
And then that can be long enough to like where they've already lost the excitement about it, they've lost the heart for it, and they never actually get the result they're after. Versus encouraging people to then come in and go, all right, cool, we're doing 3 days a week from the start or 4 days a week from the start, but we are going to intentionally not go very hard for you because we're going to control the intensity, but we want to build the habits first. And I think that's a really powerful thing for us to work with. And whether that is the fat loss, like when I dropped from 102 down to like sub 80 was like I'd do 5 kilo chunks
Mhm.
and I'd just sprint for 5 kilos and then I'd hold for a week or two. And then I'd sprint for 5 kilos and hold for a week or two. And then at the end, it was shorter amounts because I was like, all right, I'm not going to try to go out all 5 now. I was like, I'm going to go 2 to 3 down now and then go again. And I think that's one of the pieces there overall is like if we can find what works within the psychology more so than the physiology is a really effective way. And I think like obviously people have been running challenges forever. Like in as long as the fitness industry's been around, there's been a challenge for it there. And I think the gap has been that we just haven't known how to actually run them effectively. We know the idea of getting people in and getting them started and getting the ball rolling for them, so where they've got some momentum, they get some wins, and that they can see themselves sticking with it consistently over time is the answer. But we didn't know how to actually action that, and I think that's the gap there. Is like everyone went, all right, well let's go the biggest loser style of let's hammer them from day one, and we'll just make sure we get them back in for 6 days a week, and they have to lose weight or they have to get in better shape than where they were, even though their body's going to be absolutely trashed. But 3 weeks in, they're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel because they jump off the scales and be like, holy shit, like I've lost 5 kilos. This is great. This is the best thing ever. And then they can try to stick with it. So I think we don't need to go that hard. That's how we used to do it as an industry. And then we went to this whole like sustainable approach. But like I've seen so many times, like we know like we've got kids, like if you're only trying to aim for that one session and then that's the day that you get sick, then all of a sudden your one turns into a zero.
Yeah.
And then it's really
yeah.
hard to get the ball rolling when you're coming off a zero for a week.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's where like our other pieces, like the don't miss twice mentality, things like that are like how you do anything is how you do everything, and all of those things start to feed into. Whereas like I think that this having a focus where it's like, okay, we're gonna drive in the habits, the consistency first, and then we'll bring the intensity in, and that will be what layers in the progression, the momentum we want to see, is way more valuable than necessarily trying to start slow.
Yeah, 100%. You have to have momentum, and momentum comes from belief.
Mm.
And the belief comes from seeing change, or like you said, in habits, or if it's like physiological change, but it has to sit there somewhere, which is important. Question for you.
Yeah.
In another 8 years, what do you think future Jacob will be saying to Jacob now?
You should have given up control to other people earlier. 100%. I know it's exactly what it's going to be.
At least you're self-aware.
If it's not, if it's not that, it means that Jacob in 8 years' time still hasn't given up any control yet, and in that case, he's probably going to. I don't have much hair left as it is. And hopefully, in the 16 years' time, one will then be like, "Oh, geez, you really should have given up some control and let people do some jobs earlier."
Oh, funny, funny.
That'll be it. We'll get. I'll probably get roasted from a few people for that. I'm slowly learning though. I am.
Yeah,
slowly learning in certain areas, and then eventually I'll be able to do it. But it's like, it's a silly one because I completely trust the team 100%. But then I'm probably cautious. It's like I'm like, this job requires time and effort, and I don't want to overwhelm other people with it. And I know how to do it versus somebody else is going to go through all of the learning. So I'll just hang on to it, and then that doesn't necessarily fix anything either. So it's a problem for current Jacob to deal with, and hopefully not a problem for future Jacob to be still dealing with.
I love it, man. Well done.
All right.
Well done.
That's us. 8 lessons from 8 years. Appreciate you guys listening along to the pod. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be back in the studio, and you guys have got some special ones coming up. I think we've got a girls' strength roundtable coming up on the pod in the next few weeks. We're going to have all the girls jump in together and shoot a podcast, and Nathan and I will just sit in the background and probably we might go and have lunch or something, enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So we've got that coming up. We've got a couple other episodes in the works that we're excited to share with you guys. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.